Hey guys, welcome to the unbox video of the EFXtra by Durafly. This is a Hobbyking airplane, and as I've mentioned in the teaser video that I put up just ahead of this one, I will be attempting to do some unique stuff, and the unique stuff is that I'll be looking to record via telemetry and airspeed in excess of 100 miles an hour, and I want to catch it on the FPV camera recording, and I'll set up my radio so that it calls out the speeds on the ground so I can hear it and record it on the ground so I know when I've done over 100 miles an hour on FPV. So let's get into the unbox and take a look at what this plane has to offer. Okay, the first things first, the packing job that Durafly did, it's top shelf. This thing was packed. It could have survived just about anything. And it looks, based on my initial inspection of the airplane and the components, it looks like everything is in perfect condition. So I do have to give them top marks for the packaging that they did on the airplane. So let's get into taking a look at things. Right off the bat, I picked the wing up and I noticed this wing feels very stout, and it looks like there is a belly skid right there. That's my guess. That's some kind of hard plastic. I'm guessing that's where the plane comes down. That's some kind of skid. This is the blue version of the EFXtra. For some reason, Hobbyking had it on sale, so I grabbed it. There's also some plastic outrunners to help with the wing tips to keep them from getting marked up on landings. That's what those guys are for. And looks like there's some little side force generators on there. Another thing I notice is that there's no paint. These are decals, and they feel a little different than some of the decals that I've seen on airplanes like the BX3, which were delicate to say the least. These feel more like vinyl applications. So I have real high hope that these decals hold up better than paint on EPO, because this is an EPO plane. The other thing I'll notice too right off the bat is that the control horns they're turnbuckle style with a bearing. They're also on the top of the wing and not on the bottom, and that's obviously because you don't want to get this thing on landing. You don't want to get your linkages caught up on the way into the ground. Anyway, looks like a super simple assembly. This reminds me a lot of the Millennium Master, actually, where this wing is basically ready to go. It looks like I have to put on a couple of control arms from the servo to the ailerons, and that's about it. So that's it. Wing looks like it's in really good shape. I don't see any issues with that at all. Okay, the horizontal stabilizer. This is a plastic. I know these pieces, I've watched some videos, I know these slide apart, and when it comes apart, they'll click back together when it's time to assemble it. So I'm not going to bother trying to disassemble it one-handed. I'll end up bending the foam or who knows what. But anyway, the horizontal stabilizer feels nice and solid. They are using inside there, that looks to me like it is some kind of carbon reinforcement, which is good because this is one of those surfaces that's susceptible to flutter at high speeds. And I also like the scheme on the bottom, the checkerboard scheme. That's cool. That'll help and be good and visible. So anyway, horizontal stabilizer looks really good. Decals again that look like they're a little more durable than the type you find on those, I don't know, like water soluble decals that you find on the Bixler. These things look like they're vinyl, so I think they're going to hold up really well. So that's encouraging. They do include two props. There's a 3-cell prop and a 4-cell prop. I'm pretty sure the black one is the 4-cell prop because it's got a little bit of a lower pitch and diameter. So the gray one I think is for 3-cell. That's nice that they include both. I mean, that's a nice touch. What the heck? Two props, one for 3-cell setup, one for 4-cell setup. That's class act, man. I like it. Good job, Durafly. Way to go, guys. Okay, here's the FPV pod. As soon as I get a chance, I'm gonna take it apart because I bought the RunCam split camera specifically for this pod, and I wanna see if it fits. I think it will. It looks good to me so far, but that's one of the first things I wanna check out is to see how well that RunCam split fits in that FPV pod, along, of course, with the other gear that I've got. So also, nice touch that they include that, and it looks like it's really easy to put that together. This is a belly plate for the nose of the plane. I'm sure that that goes right there. So that's what that's for. And it looks like it's got a couple little sticky strips on there for applying it to the plane, which I got to tell you is kind of nice. I just did the UAV X8 and you didn't get any help at all. In fact, it wasn't even molded. It was a flat piece of plastic and it was going on a rounded underbelly. So you had to use a lot of tape and glue to get that thing to lay down right. And honestly, it still doesn't quite lay down right. But I think that's kind of cool that they formed this one and put some adhesive on there for you. Nice touch. Now let's get into the plane. The vertical stabilizer is molded in, so no worries about whether or not that's perpendicular. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop this battery cover off, hopefully. Okay, very nice strong magnet. I like the Velcro strap right there for the battery. It looks like there's a lot of space in there for batteries. Yay. I have an XT60 connector on the ESC. That makes me happy, although I still have to cut into this because I'm going to be splicing in a BEC for the FPV pod, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Anyway, nice and tidy inside, and then I read the instructions. This airplane is designed to have the radios sit right in between the servos. I'll talk a little bit about my receiver in just a minute. I'll have to check and see, and I'll let you know in the build review if I have any issues there, but I'm using an S6R on this plane, and I'll have to see if it's going to fit in there or not. I'll tell you something about that magnet. They are not messing around with that, and man, check that out. They even put tape on it. I mean, I'm impressed. I got to be honest with you. I'm impressed so far. They're doing things like putting a little bit of tape on the battery hatch, using a real serious magnet. That's the way you do a battery cover. It should notch into the front and the wind should blow over the top and you should have a serious magnet back here. I mean, they got that dead right. I'm impressed. And I like the quality of the paint and the finish on this fuselage. Looks really good. Looks really nice. Everything looks like it's lined up well. That motor looks like the real deal, man. That looks like a pretty serious motor. I think I'll make a note in post-processing. I think that's something like a 3542 or a 3536, but it's a 1790 kV. So that sucker is gonna go for sure. That's one heck of a motor. Hey, and by the way, they sell that standalone for like 25 bucks on Hobbyking. How's that for a little tip? Okay, enough of the fuselage. Looks really good. Now, check this out. For you naysayers out there on Hobbyking, and I'm not a Hobbyking fanboy by any stretch, but look at that. Hey, E-Flight and Tower, check that out. That's an aluminum spinner. You know how much aggravation it saves when there's a quality piece in here that doesn't instantly mess up your model after all the work you have putting it together? They put an aluminum spinner, and I would bet that that thing is balanced flawlessly. The only reason I say that is because I'm looking at the quality of the piece, and it looks like it's done by people who know how to machine aluminum. That's all I'm gonna say. So huge props to Durafly for that. An aluminum spinner that looks like a very, very nice quality piece. I am impressed with that for sure. So very, very cool. Good job, Durafly. Way to go. This is a slope cone. I'm not using that. This is that's for the aileron control rods. I've got some real mixed feelings about this thing. This is the FPV. Here's a picture of where it goes. It looks like it's aerodynamic, but I don't know. I mean, really, the place that you need this to be finished is back here. This creates turbulence and drag. So I'm not sure that that's a great idea. All right, let's get into some of the extra hardware that I'm going to be using on this flight. I think for the receiver, most of you are familiar with this S6R. I like these because it's got built-in stabilization. Even though I only really like one mode, I like the wind rejection mode. I do not like the attitude hold mode. So I won't be using that, but I do like the wind rejection mode on this receiver. So that's what I'll be using in this build. Now here's some unique stuff that I don't normally do on my planes, but this is a FrSky voltage sensor that'll send back telemetry on per cell voltage. So the reason I'm doing that on this particular plane is because I'm going to be flying on goggles and I'm going to be flying fast, and I know this thing is going to based on the motor and the props, it's going to be drinking some power. So I really want to keep a very close eye on what's going on with those batteries so that I know I can get that plane back after I've done some high-speed flying. So I will be using that. And by the way, this plugs into the balance port on the battery. So because of that, I can't use my normal Fat Shark power supply that I use for my camera setup. And for that reason, I went on Amazon and I did a little searching for an FPV power filter, and I turned up this little guy. Now, I'm not gonna, if you wanna search on Amazon and look for it, be my guest. I'm not gonna say anything more about it other than this is the one I'm going to try. And when I try this one, if it works, then I'll come back afterwards and tell you that this looks to be an acceptable power filter for FPV. But until I test it, I'm not gonna say one thing up or down about it. What I will say so far is that I've powered it off of a battery, and I've used it to power my video transmitter and my RunCam split, and it does well. Now, that doesn't mean I've introduced any kind of motor noise. I haven't connected it to a live system, none of that. So I don't know how well it's going to perform in live conditions. So we'll come back and revisit that later. All right, then the last kind of trick gadget, and this is the thing that's going to help me prove whether or not I hit my goal, is the FrSky airspeed sensor. This is a, I hate to say it, I'm just going to let you read it. Let me see if I can get that to focus there. That's the Dash 70. That's what I'm going to call that. That's a Dash 70 version. This one's good for about 167 miles per hour. Here's the pitot tube that will get mounted on the wing somewhere. And here's the surgical tubing that's used to connect. And I'm not getting focused. There we go. There's the surgical tubing that I'll be using to connect the sensor to the pitot tube, which will be mounted out on the wing. So that's about it. That's the unbox for the EFXtra. This setup is designed to do 100 miles an hour, and I'm going to try and do it on goggles. So I know I can do it off goggles. I've flown my Nerdnik P39, and I have Doppler runs that tell me I'm right at 100 miles an hour. So I'm sure I can handle the plane. I've never tried it on goggles before. I'm excited to give it a whirl. One thing that's kind of cool about this particular build is that it's going to be fast, because if it weren't for the electronic gadgetry I'm doing, I could have this thing together in probably an hour. It looks like it's going to go together real quick. So keep an eye on the channel. I appreciate you guys paying attention this far, and if you've enjoyed the video or the material, it'd be really great if you'd hit the subscribe button. I appreciate getting all the subscribers I can get. And stand by, look for the maiden and the FPV testing. That'll be coming up pretty soon. Take care.